Hello everybody, this is Daaro DS, and welcome back to Tsukihime, a piece of blue glass moon, as we continue our run-through of a very nostalgic visual novel that has been around for a very long time, and recently got a remake. In the year 2022, it has just been released for the PlayStation, Nintendo Switch, and Steam back in June of this year. And today we continue our run-through of the game. And we load in. The last time we learned about Shiki and how he has the mystic Eyes of Death ability, but thanks to a young mage / magician named Aozaki Aoko, he became aware of himself, and he was treated like a human being for the first time since the accident, and now he has left the Tohno mansion. The Tohnos did not want him. And now we are on a subway train, it looks like, as we continue on. The above-ground rail switches to an underground line without warning. The train dives into the darkness, spewing artificial light. I listen to the creaking of the train car. Artificial lights pass by at regular intervals. As my seat vibrates in time with the second hand of the clock, I think about the passage of time and space. It's early morning, 6:33 a.m. Half an hour has passed since I got on this train. I can't go back anymore. All this time and distance is now keeping me apart from the family that took care of me for all these years. How I accept this may be a measure of the depth of my compassion as a human being. Despite our physical distance, do I think of them as still being close? Or have I written them off as part of the past? I wonder which of the two I feel. I pondered for a moment and then realized I don't feel either. I'm the only one in the 8th person bench, and the row facing me is entirely empty. The only other passengers that are a man in a suit dozing off in the next row over, and a girl standing in front of the door. Because it is such an early morning train, it's very lonely inside the train car. For some reason, I'm not really aware of the clatter of the train. It must be because I'm so absorbed in my thoughts. Daydreaming, I picture a spaceship flying through the dark void of space. A noise of the chaotic outside world does not reach me. All that is here is my own worthless imagination. The sound of my heart pumping blood and the memories of what happened just an hour ago. It came out of the blue. Tohno Makihisa has passed away. Tohno Shiki is to return to the Tohno household at once. The telegram sent from my original household, whom I hadn't heard from in nearly 7 years, said something to that effect. I couldn't go against the decision made by the main Tohno family. I'm still a student after all, and I rely on them for living expenses. In an act of defiance, I decided to leave the morning of the day I had to return rather than the night before. I just wanted to stay as long as possible in the home I had been living in up until now. It was my way of showing my respect to the Arimas. They might have only done this as the main house ordered, but even though I wasn't related to them at all, they still accepted me as one of their own. Thank you for the food today. Thank you for the food. Today's breakfast was delicious, as always. Before the sun had risen, I had finished my breakfast, left the table, and paid my respects to the room that used to be mine. It was a meager way to express my gratitude, but for all the years I spent there. But if I didn't get these feelings off my chest then, they'd linger in my heart for long after I'd left. Life with them was nothing but cheerful. That's all the baggage I needed to take with me. When I left the Arima household, Keiko-san was the only one to see me off. It was my own suggestion that I should be as quiet as possible, so not to wake the rest of the family. Thank you for everything you've done for me. Please give my regards to Father and Miyako. The person who had played the role of my mother for 7 years had a terribly sad look in her eyes. I never thought I'd see that look like that. I never thought I'd see her look like that. Blah. I know it'll be hard living in the Tohno mansion, but hang in there. You're physically weak, so don't be too reckless. I accepted her words of concern with an open heart. The past 7 years had been truly peaceful to me, and if the Arimas didn't mind having me around either, then I couldn't be happier. After 7 years, I'm as healthy as a man can be. I may not look like it, but my body is rather sturdy, you know. Yes, you're right. The Tohno family is full of special people. But your fearlessness is something uniquely yours. Your ability to take things in stride, even as a child, has always amazed me. She wore a pained smile as she spoke, and I smiled back in much the same way. It made me happy that in Keiko-san's mind, I was still her child. You're overestimating me. I'm off then. Take care of yourself, Mom. Yes, I will. You take care too, okay, Shiki? Keiko-san not replying with a see you was something I'd expected. She sent me off with tears in the corners of her eyes, having already accepted that I would never return. This all happened just 40 minutes ago. It was a turning point in my life. It was the beginning of a new life for me, and the end of the Tohno Shiki's old one. The scenery outside is still changing little by little. We must have passed through Yashirogi, a suburb across the river, and entered the urban area of Soya. The train starts heading up, towards the surface. I feel it gently ascending the slope. My eyes, which had become accustomed to the artificial light, are rejuvenated by the sunlight. The train rumbles on, providing a panoramic view of the city. Most of the city is still sleeping. Outside, the air is getting colder. It's an autumn morning in October, a time when all traces of summer have disappeared. Thinking about it, I've been gazing at this scenery for almost a year and a half. This will be the last time I'll see this view on my way to school. I think back on the last 7 years, and which passed by as quickly as the scenery outside the window. When I was 10 years old, I recovered from a serious accident that should have killed me on the spot. I met Sensei. I started living at the Arima household. Then finally began the autumn of my second year of high school. The kind of special incident that Sensei warned me about never occurred. And as long as I wear the glasses she gave me, I don't see those lines at all. I believe that I've been spending my days living a precious yet ordinary life. Starting today, however, things are going to get a little bit more serious. I'm returning to my original home, so it's not as though I'm headed somewhere I don't belong, but at the same time, something about it just doesn't feel right. I've gotten so used to the ordinary house that living in a place like the Tohno Mansion is going to be a big hassle for me. I'm not looking forward to it at all.
だいたい学校より広い洋館とか想像つかないんですけど。
I'm amazed at all the things that I was able to endure as a child. Even if I don't feel anxious about it, the mere thought of being forced to return to such an anachronistic lifestyle makes me feel a bit overwhelmed. The train arrives at the large station and stops for several minutes. Since this train stops at every station, I'll have to wait for the next express train to pass by. There's no one on the platform. At this time of day, I expect to see a few businessmen in suits around, but this morning is particularly quiet. The express train passes by and the next track over. Thank you for waiting. The next stop is... I hear a familiar announcement. The automatic doors begin to hiss closed. And there are only 4 stops left until Soya Station, where my high school is located. The woman who just slipped in through the closing doors is another student from my high school. She has a green ribbon, so she must be a third year. She looks vaguely familiar. The bag she's carrying probably contains something for her club activities. Our eyes suddenly meet. She's staring at me. Not only that, but she comes sauntering up to me.
おはようございます。朝からお騒がせしてごめんなさい。
あ、いえ、こっちこそすいません。ジロジロ見ちゃって。
The smile on her face made me apologize reflexively.
いえいえ、目立つようなことをした私に非があるんです。先輩として恥ずかしいところを見せてしまいました。でも、朝は弱いって話、本当なんですね。
She chuckles, as if I'm sitting there, stunned by her behavior. She continues.
ほら、私ですよ。先週会ったばっかりなのに、もう忘れちゃったんですか？
あれ？シエル先輩。
In an instant, my memory is jolted. Of course she looks familiar. I've met her several times at school. Actually, there probably isn't anyone at her school who doesn't know CL-senpai. At some point, people started calling her the almighty senpai of Soya High. If there are first years who are troubled, she gives them advice and cheers them up. If there are second years who are lost, she will guide them herself. If there are third years causing trouble for other students, she will stop them from bullying their underclassmen. She's more dependable than both the teachers and the student council. So much so, in fact, that some students even call her the true student council president. It goes without saying that when I ran into trouble last week, she helped me out. Man, I can't believe I actually forgot all that. She's right about me not being a morning person. Not only that, but it's still very likely that my thoughts are a bit clouded by the prospect of returning home for the first time in 7 years. I have nothing to talk about her, sadly. I have a few questions. I should just carefully admire her since I have the opportunity. Let's save that. Suddenly, a question crosses my mind. Why is she riding the train this early in the morning?
でもどうしたんですか？先輩、部活やってませんよね。こんな時間に登校なんて。
いえ、何を隠そうボランティア活動の帰りなんです。ほら、生徒会公募で公園のゴミ拾いがあったでしょ？あれをちゃちゃっと先ほどまで。
Ah, that explanation makes total sense. Senpai's the type of person that that's always working hard for the sake of others.
早朝から30分だけの奉仕活動だったんですけどね。他の皆さんは一旦帰宅したんですが、私は面倒なのでこのまま投稿してしまおうかと。
Senpai's bag makes a clanking sound. I thought it was something from her club activities, but it seems to be cleaning equipment.
おや、中身見たいんですか？先輩の持ち物をチェックするなんておとなしそうに見えて大胆ですね。
Senpai leans in close to look me in the eye. Wait, her face, her smell, and so many other things are so close that I might not even sure where to look.
いえ、そういうわけじゃなくてですね。もし折りたたみ式のほうきとか熊手とかなら珍しいなと。
ほうほう、私の万能高枝切りばさみも見たいと。
My all-purpose, long-range pruning shears.
よろしい。それでしたら放課後いつもの茶道部に来てください。
I can't help but feel embarrassed hearing her say that with an infectious smile spread across her face. Unable to come up with a witty reply, the best I can muster is a weak yes.
約束ですよ。ここだけの話、部費で購入したお茶受けが余ってしまいまして、日持ちするものではないので元気な男の子の協力が不可欠なんです。
そうですか。じゃあ予定が合えばぜひ。食べ物に釣られていくとか猫かって話ですけど。
Her smile is so friendly that I can't help but choke a little. The upperclassman with the green ribbon replies,
どちらかというとワンちゃんではないでしょうか。というか猫科はよくありません。最後まで頼りになるのは律儀で頭のいい犬科です。
She declares her oddly strong preferences with a pleased look on her face. Since we're headed the same way, our conversation continues to roll on. We talk about the last week's midterm exams, about the sports festival, which was reduced in scale and only lasted a day, about the cafeteria where the menu has never changed, about the controversy between the students in the school over the use of mobile phones, devices, which end up being a bit of a downer. So we change the topic and laugh about our impressions of a movie we had recently seen. Okay, let's check this out. Let's check out a flowchart. This is the university beloved senpai that the rumors describe. She can really hold a conversation. I don't want to think about the fact that we'll soon arrive at Soya Station, so I raise another topic. What?
ちょっとうるさいんですけど。
Who the heck are you? As she points out, we'd forgotten about her surroundings. We both bow our heads and apologize.
怒られちゃいましたね。
ごめんなさい。私の笑い声が大きかったんです。
After that, the conversation peters out. It's like the friendly atmosphere we had experienced up until now had been a lie. Everyone is just a stranger, and a silence peculiar to the city dominates the train. The train arrives at Soya Station. Hold on. It's just before 7 o'clock. That's a little early for school when the city is still asleep. The station is quiet now, but in an hour it will be full of people and cars.
今朝も交通量が少なめですね。最近街の目覚めが遅い気がします。皆さん夜更かしなんでしょうかね。
Senpai says something strange while carrying her heavy luggage.
荷物学校まで持って行きましょうか。
ああ、 お気になさらず、私は寄っていくところがありますので、ここでお別れですね。
Senpai smiles and waves back at me as she runs off. She's so fast and light on her feet that she reminds me of a frolicking gazelle. I almost want to break into a run as well, so as not to be outdone, but I have no particular reason to hurry. Besides, I have my body to worry about. I'll just head to school at my usual pace. And then the girl familiar comes out of the ticket gate. She brushes past me at a fast pace.
見かけ通り軽薄なんですね。うんざりしました。
And leaves behind some scathing criticism. I'm stunned by her sudden rebuke. Apparently, I really offended her. From now on, I'll be more careful when talking on the train. I may have unintentionally said something that made people uncomfortable. Well then, if you take that into account.
いや、最近の中学生はおっかないな。
Oh my gosh. I can't believe she dished out a comment like that while simply passing by. It was almost like how the samurai of old used to casually execute peasants they'd passed on the road. I walk to school a little slower than usual. By the time I'm within sight of the grounds, it's almost 7 o'clock. Students on their way to the club activities are hurrying through the school gate. They must be trying to make the most of the limited time they have before homeroom starts at 8 o'clock. Soya Metropolitan High School. Whatever. This year marks the 40th anniversary of the old school's founding. It's a totally unremarkable high school with a moderate rate of advancement, passable extracurricular activities, and reasonably lax school rules. The only complaint from the male students is a very common one. Please improve the outdated uniform design. Our requests have been completely ignored. On the other hand, the female students' uniform was changed 3 years ago. The school thought that the people would be hesitant to apply if they had to wear old-fashioned sailor uniforms, so they did the best they could to compromise. Let me check the flow charts. I'll end up probably going back and looking at some stuff. The scenery is familiar, but something feels amiss. Everyone seems to be more hectic this morning. Teachers are running to the staff room with pale faces. An unfamiliar black car is stationed at the parking lot. The sky is bleak. I find myself imagining a funeral with no attendees or a somber funerary curtain stretching on and on into the distance. Funerary? I sigh at my dark thoughts. I decide to put this unpleasant premonition out of my mind and make for my classroom. I enter the empty classroom. I sit down in my chair and kill time until morning homeroom. As I studiously dedicate myself to my prep work, the classroom begins to fill with people.
おはよう。本日の朝練無事終了のお知らせ。
あれ？一番乗りは私らじゃないんだ。どうの早くない？
ああ、あれか。ボランティア。でも今日だったっけ？やっば、俺サボったかも。
The students in class 2C get along better than most. They greet each other before taking their seats. I have a chat with the students that have just come back from the club activities. We cover everything ranging from last night's news, which had been so thoroughly discussed there's barely anything left to say about it, to the school's gossip that has less than 10 minutes old. It might just be simple idle talk to kill time, but it's a necessary part of our routine. It's a light warm-up before the day begins. In this age of information overload, it would be exhausting for everyone to be involved if we only engaged in serious dialogue all the time. The atmosphere in the classroom suddenly changes. The harmonious clatter is replaced by furtive whispering.
なら道塞いでんじゃねえよザコども。朝っぱらから群がりやがって通行の邪魔だろうが。
A prickly and standoffish complaint echoes through the classroom. I know who it is without even having to look. This guy's just shown up, and the one responsible for casting a shadow over the classroom.
チーズグッモーニングメガネくん。今朝も新規臭い顔しやがって。まったくクソみたいな野郎ですね。
Is this delinquent who's long strayed from the idyllic spirit of our school?
おい、挨拶どうした？人が珍しく朝から来てやってんのに、おはようの言葉もなしですか？むしろ朝からいてくれてありがとうぐらいの気持ちはないのですか？
ないよ。朝から濃い顔見てげんなりしてるだけ。そもそもありがとうとかないし、お前のために学校に来てるわけじゃないし。
何？バカ言うなよ。俺は遠野のために学校に来てるんだぞ。そんなの不公平じゃんか。
I'm speechless. Sometimes I wonder why I'm his best friend. Orange-dyed hair and pierced ears. The mean look in his eyes and rebellious attire give this impression of someone who's always spoiling for a fight. In this day and age where the culture of the delinquent students has died out, he's a free-spirited purveyor of violence. That's him. Inoue Arihiko.
まあいいか。朝から教室に来るのはいいことだ。おはよう、アリヒコ。ついに出席日数を気にしだしたか？
いや、そこは別に気にしてない。まだまだ余裕はありますよ。今日は家に姉貴がいるんでサボれなくなっただけ。つうか朝まで鉄マンしてたんでいい加減体力の限界だ。
そうか、すまない。挨拶をやり直させてくれ。おやすみ、クズヒコ。机に急げ。さっさと寝ろ。
何その冷めた反応。それが中学からのライバルに対する態度ですか？もっとこう熱い対応してくれませんかね？
He's really trying.
俺とお前がライバルなんだ。無軌道に行きたいんなら街で同行の死を見つけてろよ。あんまり構わないでくれ。
No, I've lent him almost 10,000 yen since middle school, and he hasn't given any of it back. That's not a rival anymore. That's just a normal enemy.
どうしてかな。遠野ってば俺にだけ冷たいよな。他の奴らには聖人君主みたいなやつなのに不公平じゃね？
なんだ、分かってるじゃないか。世の中公平なことってあんまりないだろ。
そりゃそうだけどよ。やっぱお前俺には特に冷たくね？
Arihiko sighs exaggeratedly. It's not like I'm being cold to him on purpose. It's just a natural coincidence. Consequence, my gosh, I need to read. Consequence of how frank we are with each other. Although our interests and tastes are different, we're on the same wavelength somehow, I guess.
まあ、家から逃げてきたはいいとして。普段から夜型のお前が朝から出席するなんて、どんな風の吹き回しだ？ちょっと、いや、かなり普通じゃないぞ。
まあな、俺だってそう思う。たまたま目が覚めたからって来るもんじゃねえよな、学校ってやつは。ぶっちゃけもう帰りてえ。ああ、やっぱ学生には勉強する意志とか必要なんですかね。
He's certainly right. But when this guy says it, it makes me want to simply It makes me think that simply coming to school despite not feeling up to it is admirable.
そのあたりの議論は今度暇な時に鏡に向けてやってくれ。俺が聞きたいのはなんで街に行かないかってこと。カラオケでも漫画喫茶でも時間潰すならそっちのがいいんじゃない？
そりゃあれだよ。最近は何かと物騒だからですよ。腹ごとこなすのもただじゃねえし、あっちには体力ある時しか顔出したくねえわけ。
物騒？
おう、遠野だって知ってんだろ、例のあれ。派手に出回ってる通り魔事件の話だよ。駅前のセンター街、夜になると警官も巡回しているしな。
そっか、そんな話もあったっけ？
Hearing about it from Arihiko has jogged my memory. The house I lived in until yesterday is a few stations away from here, so I hadn't really been paying much attention to the events surrounding Soya Station. Pretty sure it was all over the news though. If I recall correctly...
なんだっけ、すごく低俗な売り文句だったけど。深夜の通り魔事件だっけ？
連続猟奇殺人事件な。被害者は大抵若い女で、2日前に発見された仏さんで8人目。かつ全員の喉元にバツの字の傷跡があるとかないとか。
What the hell? It's so bizarre I can't even picture it.
違うよ、乾くん。殺されちゃった人はみんな体内の血液が著しく失われているだよ。
We must have been talking pretty loudly because Yumizuka pops in from nearby to correct him.
ああ、そうだったそうだった。現代の吸血鬼かっていう見出しだったもんな、あれ。サンキュー、ユミズカ。おはようさん。
乾くんもおはよう。ついでに言うと外傷には個人差があって、傷が全くない場合と損傷の激しいタイプに分かれてるだったかな。
詳しいんだね、弓塚さん。
そんなことないよ。この町で起きている事件なんだもん。ニュースを見てれば嫌でも覚えちゃうことだと思う。
とま、そういうことだよ、遠野。いくら俺でもな、夜中に殺人犯が出歩いているうちは夜遊びなんざしねっての。最近は真面目に家の中で夜更かししてるわけ。
なんだ、そんな理由だったのか。まともすぎて逆に意外だ。殺人犯に怯えて家にこもるなんてお前らしくもない。
らしくないじゃねえよ。普通は殺人犯に怯えるだろう。こっちはやる気がねえのに、あっちだけやる気満々とか不意打ちにも程がある。絶対にごめんだね。俺はまだ人生棒に振りたくねえ。
ああ、そっか。そうだよな。狙われたらとことんまで付き合うしかないってことだもんな。
お前ねえ、そこは逃げるって選択肢はねえの？なんでとことんまで付き合うんだよ。
だって逃げられないんじゃないのか、そういう場合って。
遠野に振った俺がアホだった。実際の話、俺も殺人犯は気にしてねえ。ああいうのはほら、天才だろ。出会っちまう方に運がない。俺が街に出ないのはもっと現実的な理由でさ。最近北口駅前で新手のバカどもが湧いてんだよ。正直顔も見たくねえ。
North of the station. That's downtown. Same general area as the business district. At night, it's bustling with lots of people and traffic. Arihiko also lives over that way, so if he's avoiding those idiots, they must be a pretty dangerous group indeed.
遠野も聞いたことねえか？
Apparently I haven't heard of anything.
度胸試しのようなもの。秘密の入り口から地下道に入って奥までつければ大金が手に入るってやつ。
それなら私も聞いたことあるけど、それってただの階段じゃなかった？
ああ、結構昔からある都市伝説だったらしい。 それを儲け話っぽく仕立てて利用してるバカどもがいるんだよ。どっから流れてきた新参者か知んねえが、おかげで北口の空気の悪さはシャレにならねえ。ちょっとしたことで殴り合いが始まるからな。俺基本的に痛いの嫌だし、あんだけ派手にやってればポリも動くだろうし、連中が捕まるのでしばらく自重して家にこもってんのよ。
An urban legend circulating around the north side of the station. I'm no local, but I can't say if I've ever heard of it. I guess that's something else I'll have to start paying attention to, starting today.
なんだよ、反応薄いな。さてはあれか？朝から貧血でぶっ倒れたのか？
いや、今朝はまだ大丈夫。心配してくれるのはありがたいんだけどね。そう四六時中貧血を起こしてたら体が持たないよ。
まあそりゃもっともだ。遠野が大丈夫だって言うんならまあ大丈夫なんだろうよ。
ほら、授業が始まるぞ。早く席に戻って寝ろ。
はいよ。と、そうそう、今日の昼飯な、食堂でするからな。驚きの特別ゲストをお呼びしているので楽しみにしてやがれ。
Arihiko snickers as though plotting something and returns to a seat.
それじゃあね、遠野くん。
あ、うん。弓塚さんも付き合わせて悪かったね。
With quick light steps, Yumi Zuka returns to her seat. Five minutes after the bell, signaling the start of homeroom, our teacher Toyama-sensei still hasn't arrived. Just as homeroom is about to end, the teacher next door comes in and announces that Toyama-sensei is absent.
やったー、今日の数学自習じゃん。
Someone in the class shouts in victory. Toyama-sensei is our math teacher. If she's not here today, then today will be self-study. So as long as we complete the assigned printouts, we can spend the rest of the period as we please. Some students use it to study, others to slack off. I start to work on my math problems. When I was a child, I was told that it would be difficult for me to enter a prestigious school with my body. So I stopped attending cram school, but studying itself was still interesting. It doesn't hurt to have a good education, regardless of whether you go on to college or enter the workforce. After solving a few application problems, I look up and notice some students in the hallway. Since my seat is far away, I can only hear fragments of their voices.
やっぱり信じられない。
朝練の時、先生たちが血相を変えて職員室に。
まだ噂だから。
でもそんな簡単に。
ひどいよ。なんでそんなことに。
I furrow my brow, thinking that the worse my premonition is, the more likely it is to come true.
昨日の事件。
校長室に刑事っぽい二人組が。
I brace myself for what's coming next. It's something I'm used to, but I breathe in and wait for the words so that I don't dismiss it as something natural.
だからさ、遠山。昨日死んだらしいよ。
I close my eyelids, gently, as if blocking out my headache. The rumors about Toyama-sensei didn't spread very far, and our morning classes end without incident. It's lunchtime and the classroom is bustling. Some students have left for the cafeteria, others the courtyard, and the rest are spreading out their packed lunches in the classroom. Now then, where should I have my lunch? Well, we got choices here, folks. so let's stay in the classroom and see what happens. I'll stay in the classroom and see what happens. What can I say? I'm too lazy to even get up. I'm hungry and I know I need to eat, but I just don't feel like having anything right now. I seem to remember Arihiko mentioning something earlier, but I'm not even in the mood. All I want to do right now is just sink deep into my chair and take a breather.
あ、よかった。教室に残ってた。
I hear an unexpected voice nearby. I turn around to see if they were talking to me.
乾くんと食堂に行ってなかったんだね。危うく探しに行くところだった。
ちょっと食欲なくて。それより何かあった、弓塚さん。俺に声をかけるなんてもしかしなくても一大事。
I'm not really a friend of Yumizuka's, but just a classmate. She may have joined in when I was chatting with Arihiko this morning, but it's rare for her to talk to me one-on-one like this. I feel like it's reasonable for me to assume that she has some urgent business that she needs me for.
まあそう思うよね。これまでがこれまでだし。
Yumizuka looked away awkwardly. It's only a momentary lull, though, and she quickly returns back to her normal, cheerful expression.
幅野先生が探してたよ。お家のことで話があるって言ってたけど。
うちのことって引っ越しについてかな。
Abano Sensei is the head teacher of the second years. Since Toyama Sensei is absent, I guess this now falls on him instead.
ありがとう。すぐに行くよ。けどおかしいな。住所移転の手続きは昨日済ませたんだけど。
I force my sluggish body to stand up. Yumizuka stares at me motionlessly.
他にも連絡があったりする？
他にはもう本当何にもなくてですね。
Okay. I wonder if Yumizuka is feeling sick as well. At this point, Yumizuka Satsuki is one of the central figures in our class. She is cheerful, easy to get along with, and hardworking, and it's clear that she cares more about those around her than herself. I think most of the boys like her, and there's no bad rumors around her among the girls. Naturally, there's a crowd of people surrounding her. She's a well-liked mood setter, the polar opposite of my unsociable self. Although we're in the same second-year class, we've only exchanged a few words. To be honest, I'm surprised that she even remembers my name.
遠野くん、ちょっと聞いていいかな。
いいよ。何？
込み入ったことならごめんね。今引っ越しって言ったけど、遠野くんどこかに引っ越しちゃうの？もしかして転校とか？
When she asked the question, I understood. Her confusion is understandable, but her question is off the mark.
いや、住所が変わっただけ。引っ越し先もそうやだしね。そう大きな変化はないよ。夜行気に入ってるし、転校とかないない。
そうだよね。うち入試厳しかったし、試験勉強すっごく頑張りました。
Right. Although I wouldn't have thought that someone like Yumizuka would find this school particularly challenging.
あ、でも遠野くんお家が変わるっていうことは、もしかして有馬さんのお家から出ることになったの？
そうだよ。名残惜しいけど、いつまでもお世話になってるわけにもいかないし。
No, wait a minute. I'm positive that Arihiko is the only person who knows that I've been living with the Arima family.
ごめん。俺、弓塚さんに話したことあったっけ？
もちろん遠野くんから聞いた話だもん。これずいぶん前の話だけどね。
そっか。それはなんていうか。
I must have I must have had nothing else to talk about. I can't remember anything in particular, but if Yumizuka and I were chatting like this in the past, then it's pretty plausible that I was struggling to keep the conversation going and ending up mentioning it.
それじゃ俺はこれで。幅野先生は職員室。
10分までに来ないと減点だって。いつも思うけど、一体何を減点するんだろうね。
Yumizuka laughs awkwardly with neither sarcasm nor irony. I can't help but laugh as well. Our school head has a habit of threatening to dock us points, but poor conduct obviously doesn't have any impact on grades these days.
ところで、お昼はどうするの？
職員室に行くついでに食堂に寄ってくよ。有彦がいるだろうし。
そっか。じゃあまたね、遠野くん。
Waving awkwardly, Yumizuka leaves her usual group of girls. After answering Habano-sensei's difficult questions about my relationship with the Tohno family as succinctly as I could, I go to the cafeteria. The cafeteria is busy again today. Most of the tables are occupied, if not full. Only about a third of the students use the cafeteria. The more budget-conscious among us tend to prefer the school store, which is a bit cheaper. Arihiko and I sit down on the table watching the other students line up with their meal tickets in their hands.
それで有彦、特別ゲストって誰？
それがまだおいでになさらぬ。食堂で待ち合わせだったんだが、ちょっと待っててくれ。様子を見てくる。
Arihiko leaves his curry udon and runs away from the table. I opted for Chikara udon today. I hope he comes back before the noodles get too soggy.
ダメだ。先輩どっか行っちまったらしい。
ゲストって3年生だったのか？
おお、面白い先輩だな。ここ数日アタックしてようやくランチご一緒ツアーまで取り付けたんだよ。今日は他に約束ができたとかで学校中を走り回ってるらしい。
忙しい人みたいだね。どうも。
忙しいっていうか、全自動マッサージ機みたいな人だ。
Arihiko splits his chopsticks, seemingly disappointed.
ま、今回は仕方ねえわな。じゃ、いただきますと。
はい、いただきます。
We both tuck into our udon. Still, likening someone to a fully automated massage machine is interesting, makes me a little curious. I'll ask him about it next time.
で、本当のところどうなんだよ。
だって何が？
今日お前が朝から教室にいた理由。いちこさんが家にいるって嘘だろ。あの人。
In between bites of my chaka udon, I pose a question to the man across from me. Ichiko-san is Arihiko's older sister. She's one of those mysterious working adults and has taken care of me in the past.
ああ、そっか。バレるか。まあ、そのなんだ。遠野、今日から実家に戻るのか？
そうだけど、その話したっけ？
してねえよ。俺は姉貴から聞いただけ。それでだな。遠野がブルー入ってないかちょっと確認したくなってな。
そうか。それで成果は？
早起きするほど面白い見せ物じゃなかったぜ。がっかりですよ、がっかり。
ご期待に添えず申し訳ない。ほんと、有彦は暇人だな。
暇人だからゴシップ好きなんですよ。遠野はさ、小学生の自分からよそに預けられてたんだろ。どんな理由かは知らないが、それから7年も経つんだ。なんで今になって感動してた息子を呼び戻すんだよ、お前さんの父親は。
感動されていたわけじゃない。なんとなく屋敷から出るように言われただけだ。
遠野くん君ね、なんとなくで子供を家から追い出す過程があったら、それは悲劇じゃなくて笑い話ですよ。ただしほら一歩手前、寒すぎて笑えねえけどな。
Laughs Arihiko exaggeratedly. One of his strong points is that he never takes things too seriously. The truth is, even before I was all involved in the car accident and hospitalized, my relationship with my father was already strained. The Tohnos have been a prominent family for a long time, and their way of life is far from the norm. What I remember from my childhood is a huge Western-style building in the pressure of my family's traditions, which were locked in the time to match it. The Tohno family is extremely wealthy and a shareholder in several companies. My father, Makihisa, was apparently a mediocre businessman, but the assets he inherited from his grandfather were strong enough to keep the company running smoothly. The house was an anachronism. The lifestyle within was that of the upper class, where everything revolved around the decorum and history. What kind of child wouldn't get bored of living in a mansion like that? So when I was told that I'd be entrusted to the Armas, I accepted without much resistance. I think it was for the best in the end. I got along well with the people of the Arma family, and I treated my stepmother Keiko and my stepfather Fuomi as they were my real parents. I'd always longed for a normal family, which is why Tonoshiki lived with the Armas, as though he were their actual son. Well, there is one thing. I can't help but feel bad about leaving my younger sister Akiya behind at the Tohno mansion. Akiya must hate me. Hate Tonoshiki. I mean, she has every right to. She was left alone in that huge mansion, living with my hard-headed father. It's easy to imagine how she feels about me running away from her.
そうだな。確かになんとなくで家から追い出されたらそりゃ笑うしかない。
だろう。おまけに二度と敷居はまたぐなっていう決め台詞付きだ。世間様ではそういうのを感動って言うんだ。今まで聞かなかったけどな。お前なんで感動されたんだ？
I wonder. The problem is, I don't have the answer to that question myself. It might have been a series of bad coincidences. Well, I might have been unlucky in many ways.
ま、話したくないならいい。
Arihiko lifts his bowl with both his hands and chugs broth. Chugs it! Lunch break is short, so I decide to follow his example and finish my meal as quickly as possible. Alright, we've reached the end of the school day, and I think this is where we'll stop for our second episode of Tsukihime. And we'll get right back to it next time. This has been Daaro DS, and I hope you guys have a great day. Until next time, have a good one.